Welcome to I Said It, I'm Not Sorry, the podcast where we tackle tough issues, speak truth, and aren't afraid to stir the pot. I'm your host, and today we are talking on one of the most controversial topics of 2024, the election results. That's right. Despite all the odds, Donald Trump has clinched another victory. Some people are excited, some people are outraged, and everyone seems to have an opinion. Today, we are going to dive deep into why Trump won, what his policies really mean for Americans, and what Kamala Harris could have done differently. On I Said It, I'm Not Sorry, we talk about the issues that matter, even when they're uncomfortable. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's break it down. Let's start with what's on everyone's mind. How did this happen? The media counted Trump out. Pollsters claimed he was losing his appeal, and even some Republicans distanced themselves from him. But Trump didn't just win, he expanded his base, reaching voters who had never considered voting for a Republican. Trump understood what many Americans feel deep down, a frustration with political elites who seem out of touch. And he tapped into that with a platform focused on American jobs, security, and strength. Let's dive into the policies that helped him connect with the average American. At the core of Trump's 2024 platform was job creation. Let's look at the numbers in 2017. Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Job Acts, which reduced the corporate tax rate and put more money back into businesses. This had a massive impact on the economy. Corporations reinvested, expanded, and hired more employees. But it wasn't just the big companies, small and medium-sized businesses across America that felt the benefits. Many people don't realize this, but small businesses make up 99% of all businesses in the US. So when they thrive, America thrives. Under Trump, they thrived. Now, here's a point people often miss. Trump's focus on energy independence is a job creator. One of his first announcements in his campaign was to resume domestic drilling and energy production, promising tens of thousands of jobs in the energy sector. Whether we're talking about drilling, pipelines, or renewable resources, these are all well-paying jobs that don't necessarily require a college degree. This is vital, especially for Americans without advanced education who have struggled to find stable work in recent years. Contrasting that with Kamala's economic policies, which focused more on increasing taxes on corporations and higher income earners. Now, some argue that this would help fund social programs and reduce inequality, but here's the issue. Higher taxes on corporations can discourage them from hiring or investing in expansion. A study by the Tax Foundation showed that under Biden and Harris's tax policies, job growth would likely slow down, resulting in the potential loss of hundreds of thousands of jobs in an economy that's trying to recover. This isn't what the average working American wants to hear. Let's talk about unemployment for a minute. Under Trump's administration in 2019, Black unemployment hit an all-time low of 5.4%. Think about that. This wasn't just a statistic, it was represented real families with stable income, with the ability to pay their bills and invest in their futures. And this wasn't limited to one demographic. All Americans saw wage increases during his time in office. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, real wages went up across the board, and low-income households saw the most significant gains. That kind of economic impact does not go unnoticed, and it certainly played a role in his reelection. Another area where Trump has focused in his infrastructure is the man knows the importance of having a strong foundation. Roads, bridges, internet access, these things matter to Americans everywhere. In 2024, Trump announced a massive infrastructure initiative aimed at revitalizing rural America. Infrastructure might sound dry, but it's not. It's one of the biggest job creators with ripple effects on the entire economy. These projects don't just employ people directly, they support local businesses, increase property values, and create a more connected nation. Harris, on the other hand, emphasized green energy projects, but often without addressing the immediate needs of rural communities. A transition to green energy is vital, yes, but the Americans in struggling communities need solutions that work for today and can be phased into the future. Let's pivot to another hot button issue, our criminal justice reform. Trump's First Step Act, which he signed in 2018, gave thousands of nonviolent offenders a second chance by reforming sentencing laws. This act was particularly impactful for the Black community, allowing over 3,000 individuals to be released early and giving them a path to reintegrate into society. Trump was the first president to secure a long-term funding for the HBCUs, committing $250 million annually. We can't ignore that. We genuinely can't. One of the biggest problems is that African Americans, Black people, if you will, refuse to acknowledge what Donald Trump has done for the Black community. He created more jobs for the Black community. He even made it so that 3,000 individuals were released to be reintegrated into society, and he's committing $250 million annually to HBCUs. Kamala Harris, by contrast, has been criticized for her record as a prosecutor, where she took hardline stances that, according to her critics, disproportionately impacted people of color. And while she has advocated for some reforms, her approach hasn't been as direct as Trump's First Step Act. Immigration is where Trump's policies took a firm and some say necessary stance. Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, although sounding racist and although sounding xenophobic, quote unquote, that policy and strengthen border control measures are measures that are aimed to reduce illegal immigration, which many Americans believe has become a critical issue. Under Trump, illegal crossings dropped by 75%. And now if we compare that to the Biden-Harris administration, which saw record high illegal crossings with over 3.5 million encounters in 2024, the reality is unchecked illegal immigrants places a strain on public resources, affects job opportunities, and raises security concerns for many Americans. Legal immigrants go through a long, costly, and challenging process to come to America the right way. By enforcing the border, Trump was aiming for fairness in the immigration system. I know something on everyone's mind was, well, he said this about education, and he said that about education. Let's talk about education. School choice was a key for Trump, especially for underprivileged communities. School choice allows parents to decide where their kids go to school, even if they can't afford to move to a better district. Trump argued that school choice breaks the cycle of poverty and offers a shot at a quality education. No matter where you're from, parents loved this, especially minority parents who want to give their kids a better shot at success. Harris, however, aligns more closely with teachers, which often oppose school choices to keep funding within the public school system. It's a controversial stance, and while the goal is to strengthen public schools, many parents feel their kids shouldn't be stuck in failing schools while they wait for reform. Another problem that we're talking about, and I keep hearing, is Donald Trump and the LGBTQ plus community. Everyone feels like because they think he's homophobic, they think he's all of these things, they have all of these different names for him, it's hard for me to keep up with. But one of the ones that really, two of them actually that really stand out to me are homophobic and racist. And I don't believe Donald Trump to be any of those things. You want to know why I don't believe he is homophobic? Trump's record on the LGBTQ issue, amazing. Many people don't realize that Trump appointed the first openly gay cabinet member, Richard Grenell, as Director of National Intelligence. Under his administration, the Supreme Court also upheld the LGBTQ individuals are protected from workplace discrimination. Harris supports LGBTQ rights as well, but Trump's actions challenge the stereotype of Republicans being anti-LGBTQ. But no one wants to focus on that. That's the problem. Everyone wants to focus on the negative. No one wants to move on to the positive. Trump's victory wasn't just about politics. It was about Americans wanting a leader who speaks their language and addresses their needs. Whether or not you agree with him, you can't deny the impact his policies have had across all demographics. Trump didn't just win a Republican victory, he won over Americans who want a stronger economy, job security, and leadership that breaks from the establishment. Kamala Harris did not offer these things to them. Kamala basically took Donald Trump's everything that Donald Trump was running with. I feel that Kamala took it and flipped it. If he said he was doing something with the border, Kamala took it and flipped it to make it sound better. And it was just the same thing. No one was focused on that. Kamala didn't come to the election as Kamala Harris. She came as who the Democratic people or the Democratic politicians wanted her to be. Donald Trump came as who the American people need. He wasn't just focused on the Republicans who are rich. He wasn't just focused on the rich, but he's focused on the poor, the needy, the blacks, the Latinos. He's focused on everyone. He wants us to be safe. He wants to put America first, and he wants to put America back the way it was. There are families with 6 and 7 children who are spending $700 and $800 on groceries a week, and it's not lasting. So he came to support Americans, and I think that is where he beat Kamala Harris, is he was for America. Kamala was only for certain people. Her entire campaign was about women and the LGBTQ community. Those were the only 2 people that seemed to have mattered during her entire campaign. So for a lot of people, it was, okay, you care about women's rights, which is something that everyone needs to care about. You care about LGBTQ rights, which is fine, but what do you have planned for the rest of America? Every time she was asked a question, every time someone challenged something that she said or challenged one of her perspectives, she didn't have a clear answer. She couldn't give you a clear line of resolution of what she had planned for the American people. And I know people are going to come into my comments and are like, oh, well, didn't Donald Trump say he had concepts of a plan? Concepts of a plan are better than every time you ask someone about their economy, all you hear is, I grew up in a middle-class family. We do not care where you grew up. We want to know what you are going to do that is going to impact and help the American people. And that was the problem right there, is that no one was thinking about that. All people were thinking about is Project 2025, which Donald Trump has dismissed multiple times on multiple occasions, letting people know that he, one, has nothing to do with it. And although they spoke his name in the Project 2025, anyone associated with Project 2025 was fired from his campaign. I think a lot of Americans need to, instead of focusing on everything that's horrible, everything that's bad, they need to focus on the positive and what's good. And I genuinely believe that if Kamala Harris comes back in 2028 as Kamala Harris, maybe she'll have a shot at winning. But the person that we saw running for president wasn't Kamala Harris. She needs to find her own identity. She needs to figure out who she is and what she can bring to the table for the American people. We know what the Democrats can bring because they bring the same thing every single 4 years. They promise to do all of this stuff for Black people. They promise to do all this stuff for Hispanic people. They promise to do all this stuff for everyone. And then we sit here and we look like fools for the next 4 years because we keep voting for them. Not anymore. We're sick and we're tired. We are sick and we are tired, and we are tired of being sick and tired. Every year the Democrats get up there and they say they're going to do something and they don't follow through. Just look at the last 4 years. We were told we were going to have border security. We were told that our economy would be thriving. So we sat and wait. And still, to this day, there are people walking across our border. Our economy is failing. I think that the American people need to really do a deep dive into Donald Trump and who he actually is, and not who the media paints him as. I encourage everyone who listens and watches my podcast today, I encourage you to go past the headlines of the media, past what the media is telling you, past what your friends are telling you, and look at the facts and the statistics. On this podcast, we will not be having discussions based off of feeling, but we will have discussions based off of facts and statistics. We will not indulge in conversations based off of how we feel. We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's it for today's episode of I Said It, I'm Not Sorry. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, we don't always have to agree, but we should always have the conversation. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and remember, speak your mind.